Bruce arrived at Georgia Tech, having spent the first 18 years of his life perfecting the art of invisibility. After growing up in a home defined by emotional neglect and physical abuse, his primary survival mechanism was silence. The university immediately thrust him into a jarring orientation schedule designed to force incoming freshmen to bond. This included plunging students into the rapids of the Chattahoochee River on makeshift rafts. While his peers nervously chattered about their hometowns and majors, forming fast connections, Bruce existed in a suffocating bubble. He watched their mouths move and heard their laughter, but the words needed to bridge the gap between himself and the rest of the group simply evaporated. This reaction is a specific condition psychologists call disorganized attachment. It is a biological tug-of-war where the innate human need to connect clashes violently with a nervous system wired to view being noticed as a physical threat. In high school, going unnoticed was a successful defense strategy. On a college campus that demanded participation, that lifelong protective shield morphed into a guarantee of social death. His first week on campus was defined by profound physical isolation. He spent his evenings wandering the echoing cinder-block hallways of his dorm entirely alone, and his meals sitting silently in the cafeteria while conversation swirled around him. He didn't experience the typical physical markers of anxiety, like a racing heart or sweaty palms. His brain relied on profound dissociation, a psychological defense mechanism that disconnects a person from their own physical sensations and emotions to numb the distress. By Friday evening, the pain of total isolation finally overrode his terror of exposure. Spotting two approachable students at a campus barbecue, he forced out a single, desperate question. "Do you mind if I go with you?" That question led him to the Zeta Beta Tau fraternity house. Surrounded by a chaotic Rush Week crowd, he pushed himself into the spotlight, declared his intention to pledge, and heard the room erupt into cheers. Joining the fraternity proved his desperate drive to belong. Yet, securing physical proximity to a group of peers did not automatically create the internal capacity to connect with them. While Bruce studied engineering in classrooms like this one, his most grueling coursework took place inside the campus counseling center. He began an intensive 5-year rehabilitation process. Social connection was a mechanical skill set he had to painstakingly reverse engineer from scratch. He studied how to ask open-ended questions and how to read nonverbal cues. He relied on a cognitive behavioral therapy framework called the 3-column technique. CBT is a structured psychological treatment that helps people identify and change destructive thought patterns. Column 1 captures a specific cataclysmic thought, like, "She won't want to talk to me." Column 2 identifies the cognitive distortion driving the panic, in this case, mind reading. Column 3 forces a reality check, requiring actual evidence to support the negative belief. He carried a notepad everywhere, actively dismantling his trauma responses on paper. In group therapy, he practiced graduated exposure, deliberate, repeated exposure to increasingly challenging situations. He broke social risks down into weekly mechanical tasks. Week 1, make eye contact with 3 strangers. Week 2, ask a question in class. Therapy provided the explicit manual for human interaction his childhood caregivers had failed to write. By his senior year, the progress was highly visible. Working at the campus post office, he laughed easily with coworkers, spoke up with managers, and contributed to group conversations. Within his social circles, he established a specific role. He became the safe friend, or the trusted third wheel to established couples. These low-stakes environments were a crucial developmental stepping stone. They allowed him to practice conversation, gather evidence that his presence was valued, and build confidence entirely insulated from the risk of romantic rejection. Despite his expanded communication skills, initiating a romantic connection remained completely paralyzed. 5 years into college, he still had not asked anyone on a date. His social vocabulary had grown, but his deepest attachment wounds still equated intimacy and vulnerability with existential danger. Michelle was a quiet coworker with a familiar, thoughtful demeanor. For weeks, Bruce filled out CBT worksheets outside the student center, battling his internal distortions just to build the courage to ask her to lunch. When she actually said yes, he felt a wave of bewildered joy. Walking across campus with her marked his first real date after 5 years of effort. Then came the critical moment at the table. Bruce reached into his pockets and realized he had forgotten to bring enough cash. A massive wave of shame immediately hit him. Michelle offered to cover her half with complete understanding, but his biological trauma response hijacked him. His nervous system overrode her grace, flooding his mind with the disapproving voices of his parents. He retreated entirely back into his childhood silence. He never asked her out again. His inability to recover from that awkward moment was proof his nervous system still treated a minor social embarrassment as undeniable confirmation of his unworthiness. Does freezing at that table mean the thousands of hours of therapy failed? For a survivor of complex trauma, the outcome of the lunch is secondary. Simply getting to that table, taking the risk to invite someone into his life, was a monumental, life-altering victory. The grueling process of reverse engineering his own mind ignited a deep passion for psychology, steering his entire career path toward clinical social work so he could help others navigate the same darkness. His college years did not yield a magical resolution or a fairy tale romance. What they did was take a silent ghost and build him into an active participant in his own life. The true triumph of his early adulthood was choosing the immense, terrifying effort of attempting to connect over the familiar safety of staying invisible.